Good morning, students. So in the previous lecture, we have discussed about the different maintenance and management of an apiary, and we have to discuss in more detail about this point, that is a spawning management. The spawning, it is very important, and we will be discussing in this section about the spawning management together with the other terms which is commonly used in apiculture, that is absconding. Then there is a term called as the supersedure. Then there is an actual flight or the marriage flight. These terms will be discussed in this session. So let's see what is swarming. That is, a swarming is a natural instinct of an colony, bee colony, to reproduce itself. Or this is a process of leaving of the colony by the queen. It's a natural instinct exhibited by the queen. When the hive is overcrowded in summer by the food, the queen will be left from the hive with some of the old drones and the workers and establish a new hive at another place. And this process is called as a swarming. Here you can see a clear picture of a frame on which there is the comb, you can see, and the knife, a person holding the knife. Okay, here it is a picture of a bee. This is a prothoracic leg, this is a mesothoracic leg, and this is a metathoracic leg. And in this metathoracic leg, you can see here a bunch of orange shaped structure, and this actually it is a pollen grains which is loaded in the pollen basket. Okay, so just for the information. And more about the spawning. The spawning can be caused by several factors such as the rich and the sudden honey flow, the sudden failure of the queen to lay eggs, etc. etc. So many the reasons vary there for the spawning, and generally the spawning season comes just before the major honey flow. And if the beekeeping is intended for extracting the honey and the bee wax, then the spawning should be prevented and controlled. And it can be controlled by the following ways, that is by adding on the combs to avoid the overcrowding. More and more comb or this type of frames can be placed so as to reduce the overcrowding. And next, by the comb with the young brood can be removed and transferred to the bee colonies, and in place add more empty combs. That can be also done to remove or to reduce the spawning. And to overcome the spawning instant, the colonies can be temporarily divided, which can be reunited just before the honey flow. Then divide the colonies if increase in the colony number is desired, and this will prevent the formation of sperms and the loss of bees from one bee colony. Okay, so these are the ways by which the bee colonies can be prevented from, or the bees can be prevented from swarming. Okay, then in old hive, the worker is given the royal jelly and become the new queen, and the orders to kill the other sisters in the hive. So that is a instinct exhibited by the queen, and this is a royal jelly. This picture you can see here, this royal jelly, this is fed by the workers to the larva, and the larva which is fed by this royal jelly will be becoming a queen. And after a single queen is developed, the other fellow mates who were fed with this royal jelly will be killed by the workers. Okay, so that is the special phenomenon that is exists in the hive. Then there is a term called as a supersedure. That is, when old queens dies or lost the ability to lay egg, a new active and the vigilant queen takes the place of the old queen, and this is called as a supersedure. So at sometimes the queen becomes old, then the place will be taken in by the new queen, and that is called as a superseded. That's a term that is used for this. And the next term, it is absconding. Absconding, when the colony migrates from one place to another due to the destruction of the comb by the termites or the moth, or due to the scarcity of the nectar production, producing flowers, then they are called as a absconding. The colony, as such, migrates from one place to another. And this is different from that of the spawning. The spawning arises when there is an overcrowding of bees happens in a comb, whereas the absconding is when the scarcity of the food takes place, or when the termites and the moth will cause the destruction of the comb, and this may be the reason for the absconding. Then there is another term called as a nuptial or the marriage flight, and after the second swarm is led by the 7-day-old virgin queen, which is followed by the drone. And the drone first copulates during the flight and dies after transferring the sperm. So it is a flight of mating. It's called as a nuptial flight. And it is during this flight the queen mates with the drone, and the only function of the drone to perform is that the mating with the queen. And after that, the drone will die off, and the queen will be returning to the hive and start laying egg. The second swarm is led by the 7-day-old virgin queen. So after the queen is formed in a hive, the swarming starts, and which is followed after the queen bee moves for the flight, the drone also starts a movement from the hive. So that's about the nuptial flight or the marriage flight. It's also called as a mating flight. And that's all about these important terms. Then in order to prevent this absconding of the colony, which is a serious problem for the beekeeper, is facing in absconding, the entire colony leaves with all the bees, the queen, and everything else except the honeycomb. And this happens when the circumstances are not survivable in the hive. And to prevent the absconding, the colony should always be kept as big as possible. That is, a colony's strength should be maintained in the beehives. The colony should be harvested modestly according to the expected season after the harvesting, and the smaller colonies should not be harvested at all. So a certain amount of honey has to be kept balanced in the hive, so as the bees will not go absconding. Okay, then in order for the maintenance, the robbery has to be prevented. There is a chance of robbery of this honey from this hive. So it has to be careful to avoid the prevention of robbing. The robbing is a situation in which a beehive is attacked by the invaders from the other hive. And the worker honey bees have a strong instinct of gathering nectar, which leads her to collect the sweet juices and store them for the use during the rainy and the cold season when she remains indoors. And the instinct to collect and store is so strong that whenever she locates any sweet juice, she regards it as her own property. Colonies have no respect for others when it comes to the possession of honey. So, if there is a honey-rich area or honey-rich comb nearby, the workers have a tendency to collect or intrude into the other hive, and it has to be prevented. And the colonies have no respect for the others, and they will rob the other colonies for at least opportunity. They get opportunity, especially when there is a little nectar in the field. And the strong colonies with the largest stores are the most aggressive and the prey upon the weak ones. And even within the same apiary, the robbery between the colonies is unhealthy and unsustainable. So in an apiary, if one colony continuously robs another, the victimized colony cannot grow to be this strong. And the beekeeper has to be familiar with the measures to prevent robbing. And some of the measures that can be adopted in order to prevent the robbery is that avoid spilling honey near the hive, as that will attract the passing bees and the other troublesome hive predators. So always the vicinity of the hive should be very much clean. The second is during the brood nest control and harvesting, always work speedily and never leave the comb exposed. And the third, it is to design the entrance so that it can be reduced at will, and this will afford the bees an easy opportunity to opportunity to protect every colony. Then also to avoid the feeding the bees using the wide-mouthed containers. Otherwise, avoid feeding the bees using the wide mouth containers. So when we use to feed the hive with honey honey, not the sugar syrup, then it has to be kept. It should not be kept with the wide-mouthed containers. If you are keeping this honey in the wide mouth containers, then it will attract a lot of organisms into that. And during the bad weather, the feed bees in the morning and the evening, and the food must be placed in the hive. Also, you can use a repellent such as a petrol and the carbonic acid in cracks, and it will discourage the robbers from approaching the hive. And when we are keeping this type of repellents, we have to be very careful, because if we are keeping this type of repellent, it actually will repel the other predators, but it also will repel the bees of that hive itself. So these are the things that has to be remembered or that has to be taken care in order to avoid in order to avoid robbing. So that's all in this video lecture. In the coming video lecture, we will be discussing about the diseases and the pest which is seen in this apiary. Thank you.